Eric Musselman versus Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. It's not the sexiest Big Ten tournament matchup, but there's guys that you should believe in, I think, in this spot, and they're the three names I just mentioned. Eric Musselman historically has been a pretty great postseason coach. This is his first foray into Big Ten postseason play, and there have been stretches of this season that this USC team has looked a lot better than they did to end the year. So I'm curious what version of this USC team will show up, but the same can be said about Rutgers. Rutgers has two of the top three projected picks in the NBA draft, and Rutgers has a 15-16 record, 8-12 in Big Ten play. If Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey want any chance at a magical March run, they need to win out essentially in this tournament. And I believe that Rutgers should be a favorite in this game. But at the same time, Ken Palm tells me USC by two is the projection. So help me make sense of this, Car. What are either of these teams at this point?
I think at minimum, that there's some constants, I think, somewhat on these teams. Now, there's not that many given, the success of these two teams, but um, I mean, you look at what you have for USC, I think like you have Claude, right? Like that's kind of that's the one constant that they have on that team. I'd also put Wesley Yates in that same category. I think Yates, the freshman, redshirt freshman, and Claude have been real good for USC. Outside of that, you are rolling the dice with a bunch of other guys. Truly rolling the dice with a bunch of other guys. In their last game against UCLA, Claude had 15, Yates had 21. No other player had more than five. Oh, I'm sorry. Clark Slargit finally got off the bench for 13 minutes and had 9 points in this game that they almost lost by 30. So it's just, I don't know. That when I watched USC, it smells and looks of a team that is Muss is trying to get to next season. He's trying to, maybe keep Claude, keep Yates, and get the recruits in, and get the Muss bus actually rolling. I don't know what their actual motivation for being here necessarily is. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I don't know. I don't know. The only thing that makes me hesitant to say they're not just going to mail this in is like I do trust Muss as a postseason guy. I just will. I think he has a great track record from before his time at Arkansas, from his time at Arkansas until last season when it all fell apart. If it doesn't happen, I mean, it didn't happen this year. I'm not going to act like he can salvage things, but like Muss is going to end up being good at USC. He's
Oh
going to
yeah.
get some dudes in. Yates is one of the first examples of this. This was a really hard job to basically come in and just, he didn't have anything he could bring with him from Arkansas. So he was just taking flyers on a bunch of guys. And I think, again, in January, this team was playing legitimately good ball. Remember that game where they beat Michigan State? They were in a dogfight with Michigan. They beat UCLA, beat Illinois. No, they did not. I'm looking at Rutgers' page right now. Never mind. Rutgers had some good moments this year. No, they did beat Illinois. Everybody beat Illinois. I think this USC team's better than their record shows. That's what I'm trying to say. I screamed that in December and January. Now, Torvik disagrees with me because since February 4th, USC is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2-8 in their last 10 games to end the season. Their only wins came at home against teams that aren't in the Big Ten tournament. They beat Penn State and beat Washington. So they didn't beat anybody in this field since the beginning of February. And Torvik says that USC has been the 15th best team in the Big Ten in that span, as bad as Minnesota, Nebraska, Washington, the three teams that really shouldn't be here. Nebraska and Washington are not, and Minnesota shouldn't be. So Rutgers hasn't been that much better, but they're playing closer to like an Ohio State, Michigan level right now over the last month, and USC is sizably worse than that. And the biggest reason why is USC's defense has fallen apart. They're 190th nationally since February 4th. I don't think that bodes well because even if you don't like Rutgers, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey against a defense ranked in the 190s is a great matchup for them, right?
It is, but what about the other players?
I don't think it matters in this game.
Well, what about the fact that just as bad as USC is defensively, so is Rutgers?
I think Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper are more likely to take advantage than anybody else. I don't know.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you look at like some of the conference only numbers for USC, they're really good from 3-point range. Second best team, second best in the conference efficiency wise in conference play. Fifth best in 2-point percentage. And Rutgers defense has just been non-existent from what Rutgers teams typically are. And I know Rutgers has had some big wins. I've been kind of disappointed with their ends of the season. I just think that they have no resemblance of defense or a defensive big man on this team. And outside of Harper and Bailey, like this team kind of just does whatever it feels like randomly. It just seems to really have no vision. Been kind of, I mean, I think everybody's been pretty disappointed with what Rutgers has done this season. But you can't argue with the fact that they are going to have two top five draft picks going up against a defense that lets you do whatever they want. A defense that can't provide any resistance because they don't have any rim protection themselves in USC. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think a lot of this is going to ride on Harper and Bailey going nuclear.
Yeah, it is. But I think they can. And as you're talking through the front court options, like you're right, Rutgers has no answers down there. I don't trust it at all. Somerville's been a disaster lately. USC's front court is worse. Josh Cohen is the worst big in this league. And I honestly feel like for once Rutgers has an advantage down low. Personnel wise, I think this is the perfect matchup for Rutgers. Like just to get some confidence first round. It's a horrible defense. There's nobody that's going to punish your front court. And I think that played true when these two teams played at the end of February. They're only meeting this year, Cart, at Jersey Mike's at the Rack. Rutgers hung 95 points on USC, won by 10. Des Claude and Wesley Yates were unstoppable, and Rutgers still won by double figures. Claude had 30. Wesley Yates had 23. Like, can those guys play better than that? I don't think so. And you still got pantsed.
Yeah, this is, I mean, not to obviously basketball is way more than this. Is this not just Harper and Bailey versus Claude and Yates?
Well, in the first game, even though like Claude and Yates outplayed Harper and Bailey, USC shot 47% from three and they lost by 10.
Not ideal.
I don't know what the path is if that didn't work the first time, you know?
That's true. That's a good point.
So in the first game, specifically, what did Harper and Bailey do? Bailey had 14 and 3. It's a pretty quiet night, honestly. Harper had 25 and was 9 for 13 from the floor with 9 assists and 6 steals.
Damn.
He was great.
Yeah. Look, I'll never shake this Rutgers team completely because of those two guys. Outside of those two guys, it's no defense, sporadic offense, maybe. Like maybe you can count on a guy like Tyson Acuff. He has been playing better as of late, but yeah, outside of that, I just don't really know. Do you consider Pike a good Big Ten tournament coach?
What's he done recently?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Lost first round of Maryland by 14 last year.
I remember that game we were at the United Center. I think it was the first game. And wait, did they beat Michigan?
They punched Michigan's ticket to the NIT.
Oh, that's what it
And then
was.
they lost to Purdue in round two. They lost in round one to Iowa in 22. Went 1-1 the year before. Didn't have a tournament. Pandemic. Lost to Nebraska the year before. 2018, they won 2 games. I'm not loving the history here. A
Yeah,
lot of first round exits.
not loving it either.
Yeah, a lot of first round exits.
But Harper Bailey.
Harper Bailey.
Harper Bailey.
On Harper and Bailey, I think the whole world expects these two to show up and at least make this interesting. Because in a one game setting, okay, screw the whole season. In a one game setting, we're better than you.
Okay,
Ace,
wait, and look, sorry not to cut you off here. There's something to be said too about Rutgers. Like you think back to what they did in that players era. I think Harper and Bailey also have some like tournament crowd pulling for them to be great. The NBA guys, the NBA
Right.
type moment, right? Like they're not going to be in the tournament. Like this is their tournament run.
I do think the crowd will be behind Rutgers clearly. But I guess so you mentioned the players era. Because I agree, that was some of the best basketball Rutgers played this year. They snuck by an awful Notre Dame team in overtime and then lost to Alabama and Texas A&M. And we're like, yeah, they were competitive. They went 1-2 with an overtime win over Notre Dame. Like that was a great run. So, like, I again, I think the whole world is rooting for this. The whole world expects Harper and Bailey to like come give their best shot and try and make this a magical run. The whole world also expected Harper and Bailey to take a team to a record a lot better than 15 and 16 this year. So, do you actually believe that they are capable of making a run in this tournament? The USC game aside, I'm talking like, do you believe these two can make a run this week?
No,
Why not?
I just think that Rutgers is that bad. Even not like even with those guys going off, I just don't think they provide any resistance defensively. Like I think you can put up 100 points on this team whenever you want.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at too. Like there will probably be 4 minute stretches of like insane shot making from Harper and or Bailey in this game and in future games in this tournament if they win. I guess I would just separate the two things. I firmly believe they can beat USC, probably should beat USC. You lose me when you start saying like, "Oh, it could be their run." They've
Yeah,
had hella chances to prove they could do that all season and they never have.
yeah, I
So,
agree.
yeah. Okay. All right. Two predictions. I am very curious. Don't you agree with me? Rutgers should be favored in this game?
Yeah, that's I'm confused by that.
Is there a line that's out for this already? Probably should
Um,
be, right?
should be because tomorrow, but possibly not.
Let's dig it up. Maybe it's not out yet. The Iowa one's out. Yeah, nothing out yet. So we'll just use Ken Palm. Ken Palm says USC favored by two. I'm running to take Rutgers if Rutgers is 2-point underdogs.
Yeah, as am I.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Rutgers. I think I'll take Rutgers outright.
Okay. All right. We'll see if we're right.